I'd like to call our Hartsville-Trousdale County Water Sewer Utility Board in session. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for Craig Moreland for coming in, and Ms. Freddie, thank you for the support for him, for coming in and supporting him today. We had a delay in our meeting time, waiting on a new member of the board, and then also for a brief informal presentation to Craig Moreland for his service here on the water board for many years. Thank you, Craig, to you and your family both. I'd like to open the meeting to the members of the board, see if anyone has anything they need to update us on that is not on. And Ms. Freddie, I think you're the only one that's not on the agenda, but that's not members. We do have a board members' comments down at the bottom, but if there's anybody has anything that think we need to speak up now. All right. There's a new agenda, a new format, I'm sure you all see, and I've asked Dwight Jewell to lead us in an invocation. If you'll all stand, please. Roll call. Looks like we have everyone here other than our newest member, Miss Kendra Stafford. She was informed of the meeting, and it was a last minute. Last night she was presented to the county council, so that's quite last minute. So one night notice. So we'll hope to see her next month. We do have a quorum. We have the meeting minutes before you, September 2021. Everyone has had a chance to look at them. Give you a sec. Does anyone see anything that needs to be added to the minutes? I do need to make a note that I did request that that letter that I had sent in be added into our minutes, added on to our packet, the one with Mr. Bully. Landon Bully. The email I sent out right after our meeting last time, I didn't see it in my packet. Okay, that's one notation I would like to see added, just added to the tail of the minutes of, please, for that correction to be made that was misspoken. We have a motion on the floor.
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor? Motion carries. Thank you. The next thing we have on our, when the next thing we have is I'm gonna come out of order for a second, and I'm gonna welcome Ms. Stafford to the room. If you'll come on up and have a seat. You're more than welcome. We've got a packet for you to look through. This way you can at least get an idea of what we're walking through. Not putting you on the spot, just letting you be educated. Anywhere you want. So if we'll change that roll call. Thank you. Welcome. Our next order of business, we're on number 6. Ms. Stafford, we just approved the minutes for last month's meeting. And then the next thing is we're going to review our financials. Tommy, do you want to present those? Mr. McFarland?
Yes, we were almost 10% ahead of our profits that we estimated right now. And I added a little report. Now, Mr. Johnson got my attention and I left it at the office. But I had a new little report to give you too with the tap fees and that go along with this report. We've done 3/4 inch meters. We've done 23 so far this quarter installed. We've installed 3 1-inch and we've installed 3 sewer taps. And we've done about 163 connection fees, which that all look, you all see that in y'all's accounting there on that first summary page. But this is a report of the work we've done, I guess you might say. We've done about 29 taps for this first 3 months of a sewer, water, and water together. Unless y'all have any other questions, that's all I have. I couldn't recall right off. I'd have to look. Sometimes people, if they got a long service line, they'll choose to go up a size in meter. So that's usually what you see happen. But we do have some businesses that have 1 inch. 23. You can add, I'm sorry, I didn't think about this because we didn't sell them. They were already purchased, but 17 extra was up there on the development at Akron Trail, but they were paid for previous. They had been bought up in the past.
While we're on this topic, do we want to talk about the sheet that I handed out to everybody, or did you want to do that to your manager's report? Okay, that's right. So while we're on the financials, if you would just let everybody know, I think.
If y'all look on your balance sheet, there's this month, the 12th of December here, or December the 18th, one of our CDs come mature and we have to re-up it. And I just wanted to ask questions to y'all. We always traditionally go to 2 banks, but I wanted to make sure that's what y'all wanted to do, to go out to get quotes, the local banks here. I found a list and give it to the chairman and our chair lady, and sorry about that. And this is something that we got in the past of a list of banks that you may have that list. That's just something that was had in the past. I didn't know if y'all, I don't even know if these exist anymore, but we had it. And but y'all's we've always kind of done them locally, but it's up to y'all. I just want to know how y'all want me to proceed. And I'll get a quote and bring it to y'all at the next board meeting. Because they'll be open here the bids open in this meeting for y'all to look at.
Let the locals know that we're looking at this sheet with various interest rates and see if they're going to be able to
I may
compete with
provide-
some of these other numbers,
That was not current numbers. Is that correct?
No, that's 2009.
Okay, I just want to be sure.
The rate right now, I'm sorry, when we ask for the request, we'll send out a sheet. And we'll ask them for 1, 2, and 3 years quotes. And I think last time we asked them for like $1 million, $500,000 in different sequences, or we can do the lump sum of this money, whichever y'all wish to do. I just want direction from y'all, what y'all wish to do. So we get y'all what y'all would like to see.
I mean, I'd like to stay local, but money's money. But I put pressure on the local banks to meet it or beat it.
Yeah, we'll contact them. They'll get a form, and if y'all want me to send this same form out to all these people, be glad to. Y'all can look at them.
Okay.
I don't think there's a motion needed for that, but I think you've got I think we're just going to check the local and our neighboring counties and see who of these are local. I did want you all just to see who had been put into the pool in the past. They may not even exist anymore, but since this was out there, and I just want to let you know, and it be presented to you all, that they'll be reached out to, plus anyone that we find out that is in the area now as well, and neighboring counties.
Wilson Bank is not on this list. I know that we will add them to it. I don't know that we need to do necessarily all 12, but I would like to see at least a half a dozen or more if we could. Yeah, but we can do them all. I mean, it's just a stamp, basically.
Right. There's multiple accounts currently, and one of these, this one is actually coming from at Citizens Bank that's expiring now. So what I've recommended is that we do go to both of them, because that's where the investments are now. Let them know that we're asking, and I offered to Tommy earlier today that I'd be more than willing to, we're not even sure if they're still the same banks anymore too, because this is a few years old, but I'll be glad to help any that I can on those. So
I know that we have several banks in Lebanon now that are not on this list, Liberty and some others that.
correct.
Yeah, I think we ought to.
Liberty, Cedarstone, First Freedom. I was thinking, so there's a few there between the neighboring counties. I think we can reach out to.
Yeah, and even going north or east, Citizens Bank in Lafayette is pretty large. I think we should absolutely try to reach out to them.
There is a little urgency with this because we'll need to vote on it next meeting.
Right.
So if anyone has any recommendations for any banks that you would like for us to pursue, please forward that in an email after this meeting, if you will. So thank you.
That's what I was about to ask. If they had any suggestions, please send them.
And Madam Chairman, I believe the last time we did that, we put together, was it a request for a proposal or something, Tommy? We put together and sent it to them, and we requested sealed proposals came in, then we opened those up.
That's what we do. We'll send out y'all's preference, what you want them to bid on or quote on. Each of them will fill that form out, put in a sealed bid, put their name on it, and y'all will open that here in this next meeting and approve whichever one you wish. And that's what we've been doing the last two years, I think.
So if we could get any recommendations probably by the end of the week, if anybody has any, that'd be appreciated. That does leave the financials still on the table for approval.
Motion to approve.
Have a First, second.
Second.
White, thank you for your first, and Weber, thank you for your second. All in favor, say aye. Motion carries. Next thing on our agenda is our water loss report.
Madam Chairman, if I could, I think, Tommy, are you needing some direction for us on what you're going to put out on that request for a proposal on the, as far as, I think you mentioned, I think last time we did it on like a 500,000 and 1 million or different amounts. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir. The whole amount, or I think it's 500,000, million. I can't remember. There might have been one more, maybe me. I don't remember, but I meant to grab one and bring it so y'all can see it, but I can email it later if y'all want, somebody wants to look at it, but.
I would request that there be multiple options so that they don't all expire at the exact same time for sure. And also that we're not pulling all this money out at one time and then we're not eligible to get it.
And two, Mary Dale just hit my ear. We have, how much do we have in the money market, Mary Dale? We got 2.6 million in the money market account at the bank, which we've been using that for project money. And if any of that you'd like to see go into that, we could transfer some of that over and still be all right, I believe, on what we're doing.
I mean, I think I'd be fine. I recall what we did last time. I think the way we received it and presented it to the banks and those options were pretty good. If we wanted to just do the same thing, if anybody that wasn't here last time needs a good explanation, we could run through it, but I think it worked pretty well last time. Just do the same thing as we did last time. We can get if anybody has suggestions on banks in the area we'd want to go after, we can send that to Tommy by the end of the week and then roll it up and have it ready for the next meeting.
I might make the request that we just have an alternate at the bottom of it. And then that way, if they had anything better to offer, that we have that freedom to be presented as well, just for an alternate at the bottom of the bid.
I had that thought as well, because sometimes their terms are not 12, 24, 36 or 18 or 42 or some odd amounts, and you wouldn't want to lose out on a larger amount simply because it didn't fit. So I think if you give them that option, you might get something better.
Agreed.
I can add those other, options on there, additive. Yes, we can add multiple years or months or years, however y'all wish to do. We can add some more time onto it.
Please do, just for the ability. And still on you, Mr. Tommy, with your water loss report, unless anybody.
Yeah, we are currently at 29.9% for this up to September. The last physical year, we was around 40.7%. We're about to test our zone meters that report. We're finally got that fixed, and we're about to test it tomorrow to make sure it's reading right on that it talks to and reports correctly to the census software, and so we can actually take the master meters we installed, the big meters we put in on that CDBG project, and compare them to the customers in that zone area and get an idea of what's the difference in usage for that day compared to the customer's usage. May help us to narrow down where some stuff's missing at, losing water at. And we've been able to help. We've been doing on a regular daily basis. We get a 24-hour leak report that comes in on the meters that are readable. And the ladies have been calling those folks and letting them know that you've got a problem. You need to be looking. We've been doing that every day. So we've helped a lot of folks save some money by doing that. And we're able to do that now. Those reports come in mostly Monday through Friday, they come in. And we get a reading that's where a meter may not be or may be missing reads, and that we can go out and check that meter too. So we've been able to use that technology to help folks a little bit. And that's all I had, unless y'all had questions.
Is there any questions?
Glad to see it going the direction it's going.
Okay, much better. Thank you, Tommy. If everybody get comfortable, Mr. White's up. We've got our engineer's report. There's a lot for him to go over. So if you will speak free, you're welcome to speak freely and give him questions, because I know there's a lot he's got to cover tonight for us.
All right, I'll give y'all updates on,
We're fixing to go over this right here.
yeah, I'm gonna leave that to the end. CDBG, they have not announced the projects that have been awarded yet this year, so we're still waiting to see if y'all got awarded that. SRF, I talked to them today, they're still trying to process the FONSI for the water tank job. Of course, the UD building, the garages, they're getting ready to do the foundation, so that's an update as far as where that stands. This is the feasibility study we've been doing. I sent this in to Tommy and he's got back with me. So we're going to kind of go over it, and I kind of need some guidance from y'all on how y'all really want to see this thing presented. I had 165 customers that y'all technically could possibly serve. Tommy has went through and made, because I didn't have who actually had water and who didn't. So he had to run the meters on all these roads, and it's wound up getting us all the way down to 96 customers now. Is all you could pick up out of everybody that doesn't have water.
Is that on this
households.
list of 52? Is that what we're looking?
Yes, that's off the 52. Now, my other question was that I was running into was private roads. I tried to pull all the Charleston County roads that I could pull, and then you've also got some private roads. My question I posed to y'all, are y'all still wanting to look at private roads to run water down, which most of the time is somebody's glorified driveway? Or do you not? They're in the county. So I didn't know how y'all really wanted to rank, if you still wanted to rank those in the list or not. So that's one question I'm going to pose.
We have three types of roads. We have county maintained roads. We also have county named roads that are, maybe, is that what you're talking about as far as a private road?
Well, for example, one of these is Eden Lane. And according to,
It is not a
Tommy
county.
can answer this, according to the Charleston County Road Commissioner, it is not a
Right.
Charleston County road.
Well, it's not a county maintained road.
Correct.
Right. I think right now, we probably need to limit it to county maintained roads, because that's the public roadways. The others are going to be private ownership. You're going to get into all sorts of easement issues and things of that nature. I'm not saying we shouldn't do them, but I think that would probably be at a later date once we got at least the public roads taken care of.
Okay.
Would be my thinking on it, but and we do have a lot of county named roads that are not county maintained roads. But most of them only have one or two dwellings on them. Anytime we have more than two homes, we name that road.
Along with that, Dwight, you maybe can answer this. We've got Smith County roads, Macon County roads on the list. Does that leave the same complications as a private road working in the other counties?
It very well could. I would think it could.
As long as it's a county road, it's got a right of way. And the way we do it is we try to stay in the right of way. Usually if people doesn't have water, they don't care where you run it. To be honest with you, usually you can get those easements very easy if you are trying to get them water. So it's a little different. If they've got utilities, then it's a little bit harder for them to agree to allow you to come through there. But from our history, if people don't have water, they'll say, I don't care how it gets here, just get it here. So I just didn't know how to, what I'm trying to do is rank these roads for y'all so y'all can understand the top road from the 52nd road.
Can I say something on like Duncan Road or Lane, for instance? We have one service on that road. It probably is running a lot. They might be running no telling how long to get the water. And it also loops around. It could make a loop around and tie in a dead end we get into situations like that, which he might cover that more on the 20-year stuff. But that's somehow, sometimes roads, a water line might benefit something to make the water quality better or some other reason to do it, you know, may not just be there's other reasons for things to be done, but you may see some on the dead end. People have water already on a road that it might be beneficial to loop for other reasons.
So with 96 houses, or 96 customers, we cannot, speculate on, development, because if you do put water in some of the land around it could develop, we can't really base our estimations on if that'll happen or not. So we're trying to do all of our studies as if who's there is going to get served. Another thing that y'all can tell, and these will be re-ranked. So don't think this is the ranking right now, because over here, Tommy's put this SOR out to the far right. That means that's customers that's already served. So as y'all can tell, the first line item, number 1 road is gone because they're already served. Number 2, half of them's gone. The third one, it's already got, you're down to 4. So you can imagine your ranking's going to change quick, because the rankings off the cost it costs per person per household. To be fair to everybody, we assume national average is 2.5 people per household. That's how we come up with the per person. The cost, every road was $50 a foot. Some roads you're going to come in a little cheaper possibly, but to be fair to rank them, you're going to have to let everybody be on the same cost per foot. Also, some of these are going to require booster pumps. We've added a price for the booster pump that's not, it's reflected in the cost per person, but the cost is not in there. If you do the math, it's not going to be $50 a foot because of the booster pumps.
You say the booster pump is not included in the $50 per foot?
Well, I'm just saying, if you actually done the math, you'll see that it's not $50 a foot. It's going to be a big chunk and to put that in. So we're talking, you know, 50 to 75,000 to put a booster pump in. So that's added to, that's why some of these get ranked up based on that. The cost is in the numbers. It's just, if you done the math, if you took 110,000 divided by 1,200 on that first one there, you're going to find out that ain't $50. So I was just trying to explain that. If you see a yellow highlight, that means another road. It takes another road to serve that road. So you've got 2 roads without water. So that's kind of what that's doing. We done a return on your investment as far as the way these roads rank. Your number 3rd road, I done talked to Tommy before, he done tell me number 1 and number 2 pretty much had water. So I took the 3rd ranked road and run the numbers on it. And none of the roads on this list is a return on your investment. So nothing from a feasibility standpoint is, in our terms, is feasible on a business standpoint. So you will not make your money back by putting these lines in. It would be more of a serving the folks in your county. So, and the comptroller is going to look at that. The mayor can go over that. They want stuff to make money, not lose money. So we try to get half your life expectancy back. I think that would be 25 years on these water lines. So in other words, it take you 25 years to get your money back. Number 3 takes you 30 years. The problem is your taps. You're only getting very few customers for the amount of money it costs to put it in. So that brings up another question that I have to y'all, and I've talked to Tommy, and he said, he advised me to bring it to y'all. He wants y'all to make the decision as far as funding these. Do you want me to base, being able to fund these, do you want me to base this off of your net profit loss, or do you want me to base it on rate increases? And if you want me to base it on your rate increases, do you want me to base it on outside water customers, residential only, or do you want me to try to do it like a weighted average across the board? All these customers are pretty much going to be out in the out of city, so it'd be outside at a residential rate. I think your minimum right now is 27 something, 54. So we could see what that would have to come to in order to come up with 9.4 million. You could possibly maybe want to do maybe the first 10 roads and see what that would be. I mean, there's lots of ways to go about it. I want to present it in a way that y'all would get something out of this, but I felt like y'all really wanted a list of the roads and the customers that's out in the county, but also, you know, what can we do to solve this issue? So the main thing we learned from this, and I've learned this in other counties too, that, you know, the reason they're not done is because they're not feasible from a business standpoint. So the way the comptroller looks at it is you're going to put this money in there, you're not going to make it back. And then by the time it needs to be replaced, you got to put that money in it again. So, you know, you're just compounding you're losing money all the time. You're never going to gain it, I guess. So they'll look at that too. And I know the mayor can contest to that. He has more dealings with them than I do, but we try to do stuff that makes good business sense. But I also understand your constituents would like water. So I'll take questions on the rankings and how we went about anything, but you will get an official report once I address some of these things that we've come up with.
Discussion.
Well, I appreciate the work that you and Tommy have done compiling the list. I think that's a good first step in the right direction. As far as who gets what and when, I think we as a board would just need to take it on a case-by-case basis, maybe look at potential for development down the road, what might bring us more money. I mean, I get what you're saying about the comptroller, but I don't know that the state of Tennessee is the best judge of what does and does not make money. I don't put much faith in anything they do in Nashville. But I'm really appreciative that y'all have done this much work and at least got the ball rolling. And if nothing else, we can at least look somebody in the eye and say, hey, look, it's going to cost $4 million to put water down your road. Do you want a $200 a month water bill? If you do, we can do it. I just, before it was just, well, you don't have water and you're not going to get water and that's just the way it is. And nobody wanted to hear that.
Mayor, Evan, is there any way to take into consideration the roads where you have water and you have developments, the density, and then where the water stops, the density ends, to try to project that, you know, these 2 miles with water has this amount of density, so the next 2 miles, if they had water, have the potential of that density. I know you said you can't speculate on it, but to me, that's data driven. That's not speculation. Is there any way to work that somehow into these figures? You understand what I'm at?
Yeah. The only way that I would know is from a feasibility standpoint, you would have to figure out how many large farms probably are down a road, because you know they're going to get subdivided. I would say if it was just single lots, you pretty much know that you're going to get a house on those. So a lot of it's going to depend on the lay of your land too. So, you know.
And I know that there's a lot that are already tracked up and they're running their water a half a mile to get it. So, you know, if you looked at lots that were already tracked up instead of existing homes, it would give you a better payout number, and I think a more accurate payout number. Typically, you know, if it's a lot that's been developed, not developed, but tracked off, it's going to be developed. You know, one thing that's usually keeping it from happening is either they can't get a septic permit or they can't get water, and typically it wouldn't be tracked if they couldn't get a septic permit. So I think that would be a way to bridge the gap between what exists and what probably will exist, I guess is. And I don't see that as speculation if you can tie it back to actualities And I don't know, maybe that's just not a feasible way to handle it. I don't know. Just a thought.
I'm gonna build on that just a little bit for you. If you look down the list here, and I could probably do an average, pretty quick, but, you know, you're probably looking at, let's say on average, $150,000 to $200,000 to put water down a road out of these 52. Most of the time, as far as a development, the people that are developing these are gonna look at that. If they can spread 150,000 out over 40 lots, it's pretty developable in their eyes. So a lot of times you let your developers develop that land. So it comes a return on their investment also from their standpoint from looking at it. So I guess you could approach some of it that way is, you know, if they had water, it would make some of these a little bit more. You could help them out, but the trick's how many taps you're actually going to get. And what me and Tommy come up with also, I took, I think Mary Dale helped us out and got us a whole lot of data with y'all's new system. You can just about get anything you want. So y'all's average customer was 3,400, is that right? 3,380 is what each customer averages in your water system. So that's how we've done some of our return on our investment calculations. So you're only getting between $35 and $40 per customer per month.
How did we ever build any water lines? Have we always been under these restrictions? Because I mean, seriously, I can't help but believe that when we were putting water lines in, that we put them in based on where the houses were, because there weren't that many houses. Has something changed?
Yes, in the, I'm getting loud and you're getting quiet. In the 70s, 60s and 70s, the federal government gave out millions and millions of dollars to put in water systems. So at that point, they had no criteria. They said, get them water. As the Clean Water Act, when it come out, when they was worried about, you know, septic water and other things causing health problems. So that's where the money come from. They didn't really have stipulations. So it wasn't really somebody, it wasn't a local person, a local municipality trying to make a, I'm not gonna say y'all trying to make a profit, y'all trying to keep it reasonable, but you know, a business decision there as far as trying to make it work. It was, and the money was there. It wasn't coming out of somebody else's pocket. It was coming out of Washington. So now CDBGs have criteria, and that's the criteria we're trying to meet you with here. I'm not saying that you need to be in that criteria. I'm just saying they rank their stuff in cost per person per household. That's how they, and that's why you can't get CDBGs anymore in this county for water lines, because it's not feasible. They look at tax dollars now to make sure it's a good return on their investment, on the taxpayer's investment. So yes, new rules have come out since then.
Are we unique in this situation, or are a lot of other counties facing very similar situations?
Very similar everywhere. You know, the problem, I mean, nobody can get it. So you're gonna have to come up with the money yourself. I mean, if you're gonna serve these people, and you're gonna have to know that it's a loss. Or wait for development, wait till you can get enough houses up there. And like you said, they're not gonna come if the utilities aren't there. So it's kind of a catch-22 that everybody's stuck in. You know, you don't have the density for it to be a good business decision on y'all's part, and you don't have, and the utilities aren't there, so people aren't willing to develop it. So you're kind of caught on some of these issues on some of these roads. So I know there's a lot of money that's going to be coming out for water and sewer from the American Recovery Act or plan. They don't have very many stipulations on those, but they ain't told us how they're going to rank those either. So everybody's kind of up in there unless the mayor's heard more than I have. Nobody's really give us any leeway on how they're gonna rank some of these projects with all this money coming.
But by having this in place and having a plan in place, if and when that money shows up, we be ahead of the game as to what to do with it.
Yes, you would be, I believe the way to be fair would be is how it's ranked. So if you had that money and you wanted to put so many thousand towards it, then I would go in order of my rankings here, because you're getting the most bang for your buck, I guess you could say. You're getting the most highly qualified out of all the roads that's here. And that's why most people want one of these. They want to know how they rank, because they get people coming in wanting water, and they can actually say, hey, you're 30th on the list, you know, and they can see a list instead of just thinking that the list don't exist. And I think that's kind of what one of the board members there said. It's just, we can't get you water, and it's always been that way. We hear that a lot, but this actually gives you a document to show them where they rank and what it actually in today's figures would cost to get them water.
Does this take into consideration roads that the entire road is not covered? Did you look at that? Because we have some roads that have water, but they don't have water on the entire road.
Correct. This is
Such as Highway 25.
This is every road in Charleston County that does not have water, a section of water, no water. It takes into account all that. The only thing it does not take into account is Castellan Springs covers a lot of the west side of Yells County. So if they have already got service over there, we took those roads off because it would be more beneficial for them to serve it than for y'all to try to serve it. That's the only thing we left off.
Am I overlooking Highway 25?
Highway 25 is on here. It's down towards the bottom. The bottom of this list here is what would help y'all's yeah, it's the second one down there. It's 600,000. That's zero customers. A lot of these down here in this bottom thing, it's when it says zero customers, it would be to help y'all's dead ends on y'all's system. So I try to give y'all an idea of what it would cost to. This is more of a benefit to the system and all, but you're not getting any customers. And that was the redundancy to the Castellan Springs is what that was. The one you're talking about, I suppose. I mean, that's the one we did.
The section of Highway 25 doesn't have water. It's serviced off of the road or over.
Yes, that's it.
Did we take into consideration some of those type roads as well?
I took account, I had a map from y'all's previous engineer from years back. It was done in 16. I took that map, and any road that was a county road is how I wound up finding out if it had water or not. So if it was a road that did not show up on like a Google map or a Bean Street map or anything like that, it would have been hard for me to figure that out. But I overlaid the water lines that they had and figured out what was and what wasn't having water. So if the map showed it may have had water and it didn't, then that would be an error I wouldn't know about.
Yeah, he found some roads I didn't find when I did that. And I think we found one road that up in Gravel Hill that was not on the list. And we might have missed one, but we can try to look them over again. Because we did find one of the guys noticed the road. I let these guys start looking at work here. They know more about the roads than I do. So we tried to look it all over and make sure we didn't miss nothing.
Well, I think it's very thorough, and I echo Mr. White's sentiments. I appreciate it. I think it's a monumental start from what we've had flying off the cuff, and hopefully we can get some federal funds to help us do something, or state funds, or grants, or gifts, or maybe some old rich dude will die and leave us some water and money for water or something. I don't know.
The only question y'all didn't answer was, do you want me to try to find ways for y'all to come up with $9.4 million, or would you, in the study, or not? So
Probably a unanimous decision of one, find the money.
No, I doubt anybody's gonna agree with what I'm about to say, but it has to be said. I think that we need to entertain the idea of managed rate increases over the next several years. As a board, rank who's gonna get it first and what makes the most sense, what has the most potential for development, like Dwight said, to try to get some of our money back, and then pray for federal money in the meantime, but have our own plan to pay for it instead of just, you know, hoping Uncle Sam. Well, I mean, my problem with this whole county's politics and money is that nobody ever wants to increase anything because they don't want to be the bad guy. And then sooner or later, you got to hit them over the head with a sledgehammer and everybody's mad.
You're gonna be mad anyway.
So if you go a little at a time, I mean, I know my customers take the small increases year over year better than they do me kicking them in the tail for 20%. So that's just my 2 cents, so to speak.
Any other suggestions?
Well, we have to look also at cost of living, inflation, and all these things. If we stay the same, we're going backwards. I mean, that's one thing that we face with salaries in the county, for the county employees, benefits, things of that nature. And I know you face it in your business. We all do. And I'm not opposed to rate increases. I'm kind of like you. A little bit is a lot more palatable than a big chunk. And nobody ever says thank you for not increasing it. But I think that's something, and if we can justify it and say we're trying to get water into places that we didn't have it, I mean, and to be able to say that honestly, I think people will understand that more than just raising the rates for status quo.
my question on the rates would be, do you only want us to look at outside the county? Do you want us to look at a percentage across the board of all rates, which would affect your wholesale, which I think you have contracts on? I suppose you do. Correct, but would you want to look at that going up? Would you want to hold it the same? Or would you want inside and outside the city only looked at? I kind of need a little bit of guidance on which route to go. There's lots of ways to go as far as, and we can only look at how, you know, the way I would look at it is if you increase it by this much, you're going to get this much per year is the way I would address it. That way you can see how far a little increase would go to affect these roads. I wouldn't tell you that you got to raise it 4 times to get 9.4 million. You see what I'm saying? It would be in a form that you would know what you would be getting a year, hypothetically, if everybody used the same amount of water.
Just to say that what I said without the mic, the wholesale rates, everybody gets the same rate. We don't technically have the only real contract we ever had was a prison. And it was a set rate different from that method. But one thing we don't have here, we have everybody's residential rate, whether you're rural or city. And we need to distinguish between commercial and have a commercial rate. And if you do that, that'll help you in some ways a little bit different, but we just don't have it here. It's all, everybody, you're residential city or residential rural, and most places distinguish commercial, industrial, residential, and we don't have a distinct rate for each stage of those type customers. That's something to look at moving forward if we want to do that, and to set those up in a different format than we have.
I'm definitely looking at that in the 20-year plan, just so y'all know. That's gonna be addressed in that plan.
Can we have some sort of a spreadsheet that shows what percentage or what amount of dollars comes in on rural, what comes in on city, so that we have a better idea of changing one, or do we have that? And I just don't.
She has it because she give it to me.
Okay.
Or Tommy give it to me. That's how I come up with how
Okay,
much y'all's
okay.
customers used on average.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we need to look at this, trying to have commercial rates, and I'd like to see us bridge the gap between the city rates and the county rates. If we can, I know city rates have garbage pickup and sewer and all these things added, but it's sometimes hard to justify to the public why a house within sight of their house is paying half as much for water as they are. And so it's not a little difference, it's a huge difference. And I wish that we could, if we're going to address this, let's look at if there's some way that we could possibly try to even that out a little bit more.
Some places go to one rate for everybody. Everybody pays that same rate. If it's residential, commercial, you only have one rate. That happens. Some people keep the inside, outside. Typically rural rates they're higher because of it's harder to get water to you. It just takes more effort, more pumping, more lines, and it's out in a far area. And you know, if you live out in the rural area of Trousdale County, sometimes we fix some of these issues where people was having issues with pressure and flow. We've done projects to fix those things, and some projects we would do will help with that. But
what is the basis for that differentiation? The old city corporate limits, the urban services district, miles from the water department. What determines whether you're on city or what's your own rural?
Probably what was existing Hartsville City, because most utilities, they build from a core place. That would be your city or the closest to the water source.
So that's based on an arbitrary line on a map that was drawn 60 years ago.
Yes, basically it does. A lot of utilities are going to one rate structure, and they divide that over everybody. That's getting more common nowadays.
One other thing TDEC loves to see is you charge more for more usage. Do not go the other way. They do not like seeing you reward people for using more water.
No discounts on quality.
That used to be the old way of doing things, and they do not like that now. They're trying to be a more conservative branch of government, I guess you could say. They're trying to get people to be a little bit more green, and they're trying to hold us to it too.
Well, your rate structure is that way. You only have a minimum bill and one rate. A lot of places had tier rates, and you'd either save money as you use more, or you'd pay more money as you use more. But a lot of people have went to where y'all are right now, just minimum bill and a per thousand, and that's all they'll sell you that way. They don't give no incentive to buy more. Or because a lot of, I come from a community that was in the drought back in 2007. Town of Mont Eagle went plumb out of water, and that's one reason they're real conservative about the environmental stuff like that. So that's their standpoint on it.
Well, breaking even is a fallacy. There's no such thing, and it's our job to dig under every rock we can find, to find every nickel we can, because this would be a massive undertaking, but I believe it's the right direction. And I hate to say we wing it, but we kind of have to figure out how to pay for it as we go along with your guidance. But I still think it's doable. I really do. And I mean, I guess I'm volunteering to pay more on my water bill because I'm in the city and I got a business, but I'm okay with it because water is still a fairly cheap utility when you compare it to, you know, cable TV and electricity and other things. And God knows I'm upset when I don't have it, so I'm willing to pay for it.
Does
So what,
anybody know how much our hands are actually tied with this state comptroller mandate? I mean, if we hypothetically picked a road, we probably could scrape up 51 grand to go up Dillahay Road and just put a line in, and it's a losing business proposition. We spend the money, but what happens?
They may came back in your audit and project out that you may need to raise your water rates to pay for that loss.
So it all comes back to rate structure. If we had a rate structure that those houses on that road paid enough to, it's a positive income or neutral income generator, then it would be acceptable. Okay. So the rate structure is going to have to change regardless to justify the very first road we do. If we do any, the rate structure is going to have to go up in some manner or another. Is that an accurate statement? Okay.
So I mean, I can't see that there's a lot they can do. They're just going to inform you that what you did wasn't a very good decision. I'm pretty sure. So, but yes, you could pick a road there and go for it, and the rate structure that you're looking at, I mean, another thing that I've been asked by several people before is, can we put a rate on that road? And what I've been advised is no, you can't set a rate for particular roads just because you put that line in. That's been asked.
Can people buy multiple taps? I know that's been done in the past.
People can.
When we got water down our way, we bought 3 taps to be able to justify the expense of putting the water down through there.
People can buy multiple taps. People can donate money to y'all.
Okay. I mean, could we approach it that way? We're proposing to put water on this road. We need to have 12 taps sold to justify it. Is that a doable approach or not?
It is. The thing about the taps is you get the minimum. You know, if they buy a tap, they're getting a minimum charged every month too. So
Some places, and I don't know if this is right here, but and the county does it on the building stuff, but an impact fee with a tap fee calculated for that road. This would be your impact, this will be your tap, and that'll help pay for that. Try to get that half that money back that you're talking about. Do an impact fee for that particular project. I don't know if that'll work. Some places already charge everybody an impact fee plus their tap fee because they're into stuff like we're doing here. I don't know if that's a practicing thing anymore or not.
the tap fees is where a lot of people's going. But you have to get those extremely high, and you cannot, we've been advised also you can't do it per road. So you can't just make a new road, say $8,000 for a tap instead of 2350 or whatever you are. So everybody's saying whatever you said has to be across the board. You can't differentiate between new and old customers or something just for a road to make it pay for itself. But that could be something for y'all's legal counsel to truly answer.
A $250 or $300 impact fee plus whatever a customer has to do to get water, and that'd be everybody. And that money go toward the expansion of, would that be something? But it'd go to anybody that ever bought a tap, though, they'd have to pay. It would be money you would fund projects with or do infrastructure. I don't know if that's possible. That's something I've seen some places do.
Did we not have an impact fee on building permits at one time a few years ago? Still do? Hell, yeah.
I want to get back to something. First, we need to figure out a ranking system for these, right?
I got the ranking system. It's cost per person per household. But now that Tommy has had him and his guys look at it and figure out how many customers is on those roads already, I've got to re-rank them. So I've got that figured out. My main questions was private roads, what to do with those. And my other question was how to look at paying for it as far as rate increases. So y'all pretty much told me the two questions that I had, but I'll answer any more y'all got.
So recap, what I see is it's $9.5 million for 96 customers to acquire service. We are seeing that this is a huge loss for the water department. And we are asking you to go towards the county maintained roads first. This is gonna be my first opinion, is what other roads are on here that already have the water right at the edge, based on a geographic already previous service location. There's a couple on here that already has water that's on this list. So
They are. We'll be revising those after tonight. So the SOR will actually go over to where it says houses. There'll be a subtraction there. So you can kind of do the math right now if you see it, but the new revised list will be out in the final report. Just to put it in perspective, what you're saying, it's $98,229 per customer to get water to the unserved.
$100,000 for each customer to get water coming out of us. So if we take it based on those who are on city maintained roads or adjacent to a end of a road that already has water, I think that might be a phase 2 that we might look into, that when we get into the next phase. And yes, pursue federal, state government funding, any kind of grant opportunities to aid us in paying for this. Is that everybody on the same page? Is that what everybody understood? That's how I understood it. Is that good? Thank you.
Thank you for your time. I know it's been long.
Hey, it's better than an extra work session. So we had a work session in the middle of the meeting. Thanks, everybody. And that pay in the I just want to make one point and a little bit of a justification. I know that we have a water department that's changing the tiles and other kind of things throughout the systems. So when this rate increase is brought to us, this is also going to help benefit us updating our services that we're already I know all of you know this, but I just want to get that to the public as much as possible. That there's a lot of updating I won't say how old services and equipment that we have out there that's getting water and sewer to these homes, but that will aid in that. Then that is going to, Evan, thank you so much, Mr. White, for your report. Did you have anything on the building much that we needed to talk about? No, okay. All right, thank you. And the next thing on our agenda is the general manager's report. We're going to discuss the increased withdrawal of source water from the Cumberland and the approval of utility attorney. Thank you.
Concerning the increased withdrawal, we've had no other meetings, and the mayor may have an update on that. I hadn't heard.
Right now, we're trying to work with some other counties. The Westmoreland mayor, they actually got a new mayor. The one that was there before, he resigned, and so now they got a new mayor. And I've talked to Mayor Callis in Portland, and we're trying to work with Congressman Rose's office and other communities to try to get a meeting with TDEC to discuss how they would see this regional water supply working. I know Portland's mayor suggested running a raw water line from the Cumberland River up there. Well, first of all, we got to know, is TDEC going to go along with that? So there's just a lot of questions answered. And right now, everybody's kind of came to the same consensus. We need to sit down with probably somebody that's higher up in TDEC than what we've been speaking to and get a little bit of feedback on that. So right now, we're working towards trying to get that meeting set up.
And y'all, we put out the RFQ for the attorney, and I copied the email, Brandstetter, not Brandstetter, but Bassberry and Sims sent this email, and they just simply said they didn't think they could assist us with what we were wanting. They can do certain things. They do mostly bond issuing and stuff like that for utilities, but they just said that was this day-to-day operational stuff that we might need help with, attorney with. That's just something they didn't feel they could help us with. So Brandstetter Jensen Jennings turned in a submittal. I will tell you, he did not get it in at 4 o'clock. But he was the only one that turned one in. And I told him I would promote it to y'all and see if y'all would be acceptable to him. Just going ahead and letting me present it to y'all instead of having to go back out and advertise all that again.
When did it get in?
5:55. He said the reasoning was that he himself had a schedule or where he had an emergency to help a utility, and it just kind of got away from him. But
Are we breaking any rules if we were to accept that because he came in late?
No, you just established it yourself. So, I mean, it's not a state law or anything.
He's the
You just
only
said,
one.
you just set a time saying, please get them in by this time. And at this point, this is the only one we got.
Do you have a motion on the floor or any discussion?
I make the motion that we entertain them as our legal.
I have a motion on the floor.
Second.
And Weber, a second. All in favor? Say aye. Motion carries. Thank you. And public comments, and Ms. Frankie's walking out the back door. Good. Thank you for joining us. That's going to take us to our board member comments. Go right ahead.
There was a little bit of discussion tonight about rate increases. I think it kind of got muddied with discussion about what we're doing with extending lines and serving the community. I've been thinking for a long time, we need to have a bigger discussion regardless of the line extension thoughts about rate increases of some sort, if nothing else, just to keep up with inflation. I was just going to ask if we could maybe get that on the agenda for next month to start that process. I'm sure the public's probably going to want to have a lot to say about that one too, but maybe if amongst ourselves with the board members kind of start doing your due diligence on where you feel on that for next month. And I don't know who could answer this, maybe Tommy, if there is any other historical precedent of other utilities, how they approach this discussion and how they set up their rate structure increases. If there is any example to go by that we could use as a talking point, that'd be awesome.
But I'd definitely like to see our historical, what increases we've had, say over the last 20 years, 10 years, you know, whether we've had one in 5 or 2 or, and how much they were. I think that would be helpful to have that information as well.
on that there, I think I've only personally seen maybe the last 3. I don't know of any others that you can find in record unless we can find them in the historical somehow. But that's all I've seen since I've been here, the last 3, I believe, increases, and they're over 8 to 10 years apart. And that's how far apart they've been. Y'all hadn't really raised rates a lot here in the past.
Well, I know you can't produce information you don't have, but whatever information.
Yeah,
you can
I've got what we got, and I'll be glad to give it to you. I guess what I'm getting about to say. Yeah. And Mary Dale, a minute ago, she was whispering in my ear when you asked the rural versus city, she said the money works out to be about 40-60. on the monies. What we bring in, 40 in the city, 60 in the rural area, percent wise on our,
40 in the city, 60.
ain't that right, Mary Dale?
So the line share of money, something else.
Yeah. Mhm. They're paying, of course, that's paying a higher rate too. So.
Anybody else have any questions or comments from the board members? I'd like to extend the request and for the breakdown for that city be put in the next agenda, but also break down the city services that are provided and if there's an extra fee. I don't live in the city, so I don't see what all the services are that are being offered to those individuals. And is it an additional fee that's charged for for the trash and those kind of things? If you'll bring that and submit that next month, that would be muchly appreciated. So, and I think that's everything. Mayor, do you have anything?
Nope.
Motion on the floor to adjourn. First, Jewel.
Second.
Second. All in favor, say aye. Have a great evening. Thank you all.